Greetings, this is Doc Ock coming at you live and direct from Black Facts Headquarters Central today with another installment of Doc Ock at noon and 9. That's right, we're flying high today because we're getting ready to straighten up and fly right like the song says. So, put on your big boy pants or your big girl dress, your big girl skirt, whatever it is you need to put on. Let's put it on right now so nobody has to get hurt. Because it's time to put a hurting on this history. Yes. Okay. And I see we got everybody on board today. Well, let's go ahead and get it on. Let's go ahead and get it on. So today, we got a special feature for you. We've been featuring black women, particularly black women who love to fly. Black women of the air. We're going to soar above setbacks today. Setbacks, kickbacks, backlash. We're going to overcome it all and still have a ball. But before we do all that, a couple things we need to do. Number one, if you're watching this on Facebook, go ahead and give us a like. If you're watching on YouTube, give us the old thumbs up. And then go ahead and spread the word far and wide. We need you to get your algorithm going. That's right, we're going to use the rhythm method to go ahead and spread the word all over the land. And by that, I mean your voice. In other words, speak up, speak out, let other people know what it's all about right here at the Tubular Black Facts channel. What we've been doing, we're going on 800 live streams strong. So we've been doing this for a little bit, and we don't intend to quit. We're going to keep on doing it as long as we can, or at least that's the plan. Meanwhile, let's go ahead and do our proverb of the day. Proverb of the day today is from Nigeria. It would be as easy for the pebbles of the Darra board to meet. It would be as easy for the pebbles of the Darra board to meet. Now, okay, on this one, I'm going to go ahead and give y'all a clue. I'm going to have mercy on you. And by the way, this one is from Hausaland. And so it says here, this one may be said to a man who claims to have met you before and you deny it. In other words, that it would be as easy to have met him before as it is for the pebbles of the Darra board to meet. And you know, the Darra board, again, for those of you who are unaware, unhip, over there starting the trip, the Darra board is a board like this one right here. Matter of fact, this particular one comes from Nigeria. There we go. But this one we call Ayo. We call it an Ayo board. In Yoruba land, we call it Ayo. But in Hausa land, they call it Darra, and in other parts of Nigeria, they may have other names as well. And for each of those different names comes a different culture. For each of those different areas comes a different culture and a history, as well as proverbs, sayings, stories, etc. So there's a whole. It's part. That board is a part of the culture. It's not just a piece of wood that sits there inert by itself. It has a place within the cultural framework of these different groups of people. Now, we're going to read today about a woman by the name of Janet Harmon Bragg. And we're not going to do a lot of bragging. We're not even going to do some of her bragging for her, but we are going to give you some facts. Going to give you some facts, some figures, some times, some places, some names, and we will give you some dates. So you can put all this stuff together in its proper place. And just as soon as I get this slideshow humming, we will be coming round the mountain when we come. We'll be coming round the mountain when we come. We'll be coming round the mountain. We'll be coming round the mountain. We'll be coming round the mountain when we come. when we come. We'll be riding a white plane when we come. We'll be riding a white plane when we come. We'll be riding a white plane. We'll be riding a white plane. We'll be riding a white plane when we come, when we come. Chapter 1, I Become Janet. We were a very happy family, not rich, just a little bit above poverty. But we had plenty of love, and it oozed from all angles. Just oozed. My hometown in Griffin, Georgia, is about 30 miles south of Atlanta. I imagine at the time I was born that a couple of thousand people lived there, maybe more. And we used to call it the Magic City. Now, you know, you'd be surprised how many places call themselves the Magic City. I don't know why all these places were calling themselves the Magic City. Is that because niggas wasn't allowed to be seen after sundown? I mean, you know, what was the magic part? That's what I want to know. What kind of tricks were they playing down there? My grandfather on my mother's side was of Spanish descent, though I'm sure his ancestors must have come from some part of Africa. He was a freed slave, tall, handsome, with clean features. I remember he wore his hair long. It was curly, beautiful. His name was Os Bats. My grandmother was a full-blooded Cherokee Indian. My mother's maiden name was Cordia Bats, and my father was Samuel Harmon. Both were native Georgians. Beyond that, I'm not interested in tracing my genealogy. I ain't got time. Too busy flying. My grandfather Os bought property, 4 or so acres of land, right after slavery time. I have the deeds showing he purchased the property in 1873. On the land, he built a little house where my mother was born. He sold it to my father when he and mother met, and then they married. I was born in that house, as were all the children in my family. The house was destroyed, but we still have the land. I've been paying taxes on it for years and years. It was just a little outside the city limits when I was growing up, but now it's in the city. I think I would like to build decent homes on the land as a memorial to my family. Later, my grandfather bought land from the city, and to each of his 8 children, he gave equal acreage. At that time, I guess it was about 50 cents an acre, probably a lot of money way back then. He grew cotton and vegetables and fruit trees. A rock mason by trade, he would gather rocks from the fields and build houses with them. I remember the chimney of our house was on the outside, a huge rock chimney. And sometimes when the sun shone on it, or just a reflection of the sun, those rocks had different colors, iridescent. There were 7 children in our family, 4 boys and 3 girls. Elza, Peter J., Samuel, Pat, Viola, otherwise known as Honey, Lillian, and me. I was the youngest. We were a very happy family, not rich, just a little beyond poverty, but we had plenty of love and it oozed from all angles. My father was a good provider. My mother worked sometimes to supplement the budget. They were able to give all of us a good education. When I think now how they managed to feed, clothe, and send 7 children to school, it was a miracle. We were taught how to share, we were motivated, and we didn't forget that my father was the head of the family. He was stern and positive, but was the kindest man ever. He had love and we had love and respect for him. He always said, if Jack can do it, so can Jill. That meant there was no time wasted, that I was part of a family that cared and that I could do whatever I set my sights on. My mother was loved by the whole community. All the children in the neighborhood called her Mama Corja. She shared with those who were less fortunate than we were. I don't remember ever hearing her say anything that wasn't complimentary to anyone. She lived to be 86 years of age. She was precious, and every day was Mother's Day for her. My father was a brick contractor. Most of the brick masons at that time were black. You didn't see very many whites laying bricks. I guess they thought it was slaves who used to do all this, as they just didn't want to do it. My father made a good living out of it. Janet is a combination of two given names, Jane Nettie. My father's mother was named Jane, and my mother's mother was Nettie, so they combined the two and called me Jane Nettie. I didn't like the name too much, though I loved my two grandmothers. It was changed for me when I was in the 3rd grade, so I must have been about 8 years old. When my teacher, Mrs. Sinclair, sent us to the blackboard, she would give us a little space to write our names. I took to writing a large Jane Nettie all over the board. She said, let's do something about this. We'll take J and an A, N-E-T. So we had both your grandmother's names. I thought that was smart. So that's how it started, Janet. But I had 2 first cousins teaching school, one in the 1st grade and one in the 4th. After I finished with grade school and went in with my 4th grade teacher, who was my first cousin, she said, where did you get that name? Your name is Jane Nettie. So through the 4th grade, I had to be Jane Nettie again. But just as soon as I got out of 4th grade, I went back to Janet. I could be either Jane or Nettie, or I could be Nettie, but I wanted to be both of them, Janet. Such a pretty name. Both of my teacher cousins were graduates of Tuskegee Institute. Now Tuskegee University. One, Cora Lee, was tall and thin. The other was a little on the obese side, if you know what I mean. In those days, teachers were allowed to punish students with a ruler, to spank them or strike them on the hands. My 4th grade teacher was my obese cousin, Janie Dickens. When she ordered me to hold my hand out for punishment, I sometimes would pull it back and she'd miss. Then she'd shake all over like jelly. But both cousins were excellent teachers. A school in Griffin was later named for Cora Lee Nimmons, the slender one. Growing up, my brother Pat and I were inseparable. We had so much to do. His name was Vanderbilt, but we called him Pat for short. I don't ever remember my brother having a fight with anybody. Never. He just didn't like violence. His sister Janet took care of him very well. I knew he wouldn't fight, but if we were coming home from school and somebody cornered him, I would walk up, and that was it. Don't touch my brother. That's right, you better not put your hands on him. He should have protected me. Sometimes I got the raw end of it. We were all just kids, and after 2 or 3 minutes, we were all playing together as if nothing had happened. But just don't bother my brother. Don't you even think about it. My grandfather Os was a rather unique fellow. When he came to visit us, he always drove a nice horse with a surrey and a fringe all around the top. That's right, he drove a surrey with the fringe on top. Then he would say, don't put any mud in my buggy. I probably got my saving ways from him. Every little thing I pick up, I think I can use later. We used to laugh about it. When grandfather came to visit us, he always had a pocket full of peanuts and shells. He would put his hand in his pocket, take the shells from the peanuts, then put the shells in another pocket. We thought that was funny, but it was just one of his saving ways. And he didn't want to litter. We didn't know what he did with the shells. Maybe they were fertilizer for his farm. I don't know. I always liked to go out to the farm, out to his house. He had built a long walk with white sand and cedar trees on each side, which led up to the house. It was a beautiful house, stone for the first story and frame above, with tall trees all around and a big oak in the back with a swing. Wherever he came from, he was used to beauty. I remember that sometimes he would say, "Here you go, come out to eat off your granddaddy." Then he would smile. I guess we did go out there to partake of what he had to offer because he had watermelons. Watermelons. You know that's right. That's all you got to tell me. You got some watermelons out there. But he also had berries, plums, and all kinds of vegetales. And my grandmother made the best cookies in the country. All the good goodies were out there. But Pat would say, "I just hate to go out there." Why does he always say we go out there to eat off of him? He didn't know grandfather was kidding. That's like my grandmother. When we'd go over my grandmother Redding's house up in Cleveland on Glendale, she would always say, "Shh, quiet. Y'all make enough noise to wake the dead." And it wasn't until I was well grown in my 40s before I had a double take on that and said, wait a minute. She didn't believe we were going to wake the dead. That was just a saying she used to say. But Grandma had drilled it in us so hard that I had took it for fact that she really thought we might wake the dead. You know, the zombies start coming out, walking around. Some kind of zombie apocalypse was going to start because we were down there making too much noise. Because my grandfather worked at night at SEAL test, and he slept during the day. So we had to go down and stay in the basement mostly and be quiet. But that's another story for a different day. We'll get black to Grandpa a little later. In the meanwhile, you know, it's time for us to end this presentation. So we're going to end our show, and we'll be black tonight. Look for us at 9 o'clock. This is Doc Ock at noon and 9, signing off. And all I want to say right now before we go is don't forget, give us a like if you're watching on Facebook. Give us a thumbs up if you're watching on YouTube. And then go ahead and subscribe to the Tubular Black Facts channel if you don't mind. Now, last but not least, I'm just going to say adios or tuta onana to saku tawi. We see y'all over there. And looks like Fetty Red. I don't know if that's Frederick, but I got it here as Fetty Red. And then I see Tony Johnson over there as well. All right. Thank y'all for tuning in. Keep on supporting us. We need all the support we can get. Just seeing your names pop up in a little wave gives us it makes our heart flutter, and it lets us know that we ain't no slave, that we are free and just being the way we need to be. And hopefully when you see us being the way we need to be, it'll help you be free too if you're not already. Peace out without a doubt, y'all. We going into our extra.